Hi guys, welcome to the new video, and this time it's going to be about the 5 things that you need to remember for your next site analysis. So one day my intern came to me and asked me what's the difference between the site analysis that the students do in school and the ones that we professional practice in real life. So I told them that the stakes were really high in the real life projects than it is in the academics. And then I went to YouTube to search for videos that talked about site analysis. However, I could only find videos that talked about how you can represent your site analysis in a diagram, but really few of them actually taught you how to do site analysis. So this video is here for you to fill that gap and to let you know about those 5 things that you need to remember for your next site analysis. So this is how I personally would like to divide the process of site analysis based on how you do it. The first one is on-site analysis and the second one is off-site analysis. So on-site analysis is something that you do when you physically visit the site and then you observe around. And off-site analysis is something that you do before visiting a site, or even after you visited a site, or when you have to work remotely and you can't visit the site personally. So first, let's talk about on-site analysis. There are different methods that you follow, starting with observation. So you have to observe what's going on around the site, in the site, what's the topography like, and everything else, all the features of the site. The next thing is measurement. So it can be like a simple measurement of a road, or maybe you want to measure the whole site. Actually, we do that through survey, but this can be an initial measurement. The third thing is sketching. There are a few things that you might miss during your observation of the site, and that's when sketching comes handy. When you sit down and sketch a scene in your site, you might find a lot more interesting things that you might have missed when you observe. Fourth thing is photograph or a video. I personally would like to recommend you guys to take videos of your site, because when you take photos, you might miss some portion of the site. And a video is also more efficient in making others understand about your site, where the things are and how they are aligned compared to each other. The fifth thing is interview. So this can be either informal conversations with the people about your site, or it can be a formal set of questions that you ask people to get the data that you need. And finally, data collection. So it can be tracking the movement of the people, or maybe counting the number of vehicles that pass through your site, and so on. Now, off-site analysis. The first method for off-site analysis is to go and look out for satellite images. So this gives me a broad picture about where my site is, the orientation, and also the features that I might have missed when I was there physically in my site. I personally use Google Earth, and there are some benefits of Google Earth. Like, you can go and look for the history of the site. For Nepal, you can find images going back to 2003. You can also look for the context that you might have missed during your physical visit at the site. Or you can also have an idea about the topography before you actually visit the site. Second method is reading research papers and news articles. So I'd like to share one example with you guys. This was one project that we were doing in a village in eastern part of Nepal. And it was a village where apparently wild elephants would attack the villagers. That's something that we found out during our off-site analysis, where we found news articles that talked about this issue. The third method is data analysis and review. So this can either be data that you have collected during your site visit, or the ones that you have found somewhere else. So now let's go to the 5 things that you need to remember for your next site visit. The first thing is orientation. So you need to find out how your site is oriented. This will help you with the wind direction, the solar path, and how shadows actually fall on your site. To find out the orientation, you'd need a compass. And these days, we can all download the compass app on our smartphone and use that to find out the orientation of our site. The second thing is existing features. So existing features can be both man-made or natural. When you talk about man-made features, it can be either the boundary wall or any buildings or any structures that are already present in your site. These may be structure that you might need to remove from your site, or maybe the ones that you need to preserve. Other existing features can be drainage, light posts, and things like that. And natural features can be trees, shrubs, or grasses. Sometimes there can be a few trees in your site that you want to preserve and then use them as a part of your design. Or maybe there's a natural rock that you'd like to use in your design. And that's only possible if you go out there, do a site analysis, and record the positions and the type and the scale of all those existing features. So now moving on to the third thing, it's access. So what comes in access? Maybe you have a road that links to your site, maybe there are multiple roads, or maybe there's a road or a walkway that goes through your site. There can also be cycle routes, or you may also need to record the nearest parking space. In access, there's one thing that most of the young architects fail to notice, and it's access for construction. So maybe you are analyzing a site that's in a dense neighborhood. So you will need to look out for access to bring your materials in for the construction, or maybe the equipment. And if the access is not planned properly, the building is not going to be built. Moving on to the fourth thing, it's context. So when you talk about context, it can be either buildings that surround your site, or maybe there's a jungle behind your site, or there can be features like a school or an airport near your site, and this will actually impact your design process. The fifth and final thing is site topography and environment. So when we talk about topography, the first thing that comes to mind is slope. Site slope is something that you'd get through a site survey, but even without the survey, you can get an idea if the slope is gentle or is it a dramatic slope that you have in your site. The next thing is ground cover. So I'll give you an example of a ground cover in our recent site. So we went to the site and did a quick observation and found out our ground cover was grass. And we didn't think a lot for the site preparation for the construction. And later when they started the construction, they found out there was a huge concrete footing beneath a layer of grass and earth that we first observed during our site visit. So third thing here is flora or fauna. We've already talked about existing trees in your site in the earlier point, but then there might be an ecosystem existing in your site. This is especially important for a landscape project. So there might be an ecosystem that's already existing in your site. There might be insects, butterflies, and they might be dependent on a specific flower or a specific plant that exists in your site. So you might have to preserve those plants. There you go. These were the 5 things that you need to remember during your next site visit. The points that I've discussed in this video are 5 basic points. In my next video, I'm going to talk about advanced points that you need to remember for your next site visit. Until then, it's me, Sadar. Thank you for watching.